Next on Worcester News Tonight, the manhunt for an escaped prisoner continues. An expert weighs in on the logistics of the case. Plus, new legislation could be bringing a life-saving device to all Massachusetts schools. Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us. I'm Brittany Schaefer. More on those stories in a moment. We begin tonight with the ever-changing weather. Mild for most of the day today, but tonight's parts of our region saw snow. Snow squalls hit the area this evening just before 8 o'clock, creating near whiteout conditions on the roads in some spots. This is a look outside our Worcester studio earlier. The city of Worcester says DPW crews are out treating major roadways and hilly side streets tonight. And the snow could be just a taste of what's to come later this week. We'll get a check on our local complete forecast later this hour. A somber goodbye in the city tonight after more than 30 years helping patients fighting cancer. Worcester's Hope Lodge holds its final open house Wednesday to thank their 150 volunteers for their help over the years. Hope Lodge is a patient service program of the American Cancer Society. Late last year, the organization surprised some of its supporters by announcing the Worcester location will be closing its doors on January 15th. The American Cancer Society will be providing shelter for any patients currently staying at Hope Lodge when it does close. Audrey Marcy is a founder of Hope Lodge and says it was an emotional night saying goodbye.
A lot of people, I've been involved for 31 years as one of its founders and volunteers. There's mixed emotions here, of course, like anything else, but from a community perspective, so many of the people I've talked to really feel the need of this program in the community.
Hope Lodge first opened in 1985, and although it is closing, Marcy says to stay tuned because some volunteers are working as an independent group to find a new way to house cancer patients. Tonight, authorities are still searching for the man they describe as armed and dangerous. James Morales escaped prison New Year's Eve, and a criminal justice expert tells us evidence shows Morales is resourceful and may have had an escape plan. Our Livy Lemon has the story.
As the manhunt for James Morales enters its 5th day, some are questioning how he's been able to remain on the run.
Either he has a lot of planning and or a lot of good connections. I don't think a person can do this on their own.
I guess he's got a plan. So, no, I'm a little surprised. Yeah, I'll be happy when they catch him.
Morales escaped a detention center in Central Falls, Rhode Island, Saturday night. He's charged with stealing 16 guns from a U.S. Army Reserve Center in Worcester in 2015.
This is going to raise an additional charge for the man, as he now has done a couple of things. One, apparently stealing a car, and the other is actually an escape. So there are additional criminal charges that are going to flow from this.
Anna Maria criminal justice professor Michael Donnelly was a prosecutor for 26 years in Worcester County. He says Morales is most likely running to places he is familiar with. Authorities say they believe he was last spotted in Framingham.
He has some skills and some resources, and he knows how to manage some of these problems. And I am pretty confident that he's going to be found, and found sooner than later.
Professor Donnelly says media plays a major role in these kinds of cases, since authorities are able to share descriptions and information through news outlets and social media at a faster rate.
Talking through the news media to the public, I think that will really result in a faster resolution. And what I hope for everybody, a safer resolution.
Meanwhile, Morales has been added to Massachusetts State Police's most wanted list. Police say he is considered to be armed and dangerous, and anyone who sees him should not approach him. Olivia Lemon, Worcester News Tonight.
The Worcester Fire Department holds a ceremony Wednesday night promoting 8 of their own while handing out commendations to 6 firefighters for their response to a dangerous situation late last year. Thomas Coyle Jr. and Brian McGurl were promoted to the rank of captain. 6 firefighters were promoted to the rank of lieutenant. The department also recognized firefighters from Engine 4 and Ladder 7 for their efforts battling a 3-alarm fire on Pelham Street last October. Chief Jeffrey Gardell spoke at the ceremony and says the men promoted today have shown a lot of hard work and dedication to the city of Worcester.
The members of the Worcester Fire Department perform on a regular basis at a high level, but sometimes something is above and beyond. So the commendations today were very warranted, and it's my pleasure to be able to give them out.
Later this month, there will be another promotion within the Worcester Fire Department when Chief Gardell retires. The city is currently in the middle of choosing the next fire chief. A new year brings in new legislative session at the Massachusetts State House. Governor Charlie Baker was on hand to swear in dozens of new lawmakers for the 2-year session. Robert DeLeo was re-elected as House Speaker, plus Stanley Rosenberg was re-elected as Senate President. Both are Democrats. A life-saving device which has helped many during a cardiac episode could soon be placed in all Massachusetts schools. Last night, state lawmakers passed legislation requiring automatic external defibrillators in schools. It is now headed to the governor's office. Our Andy Madison spoke with a central Massachusetts family who has been pushing for this legislation and has more.
We're waiting for the ambulance. Trooper Hilton's working on Mike, and he wasn't saved. They rushed him to the hospital after 15 minutes and worked on him, but sadly he died on the football field that day.
It's a tragedy John Elsesser thinks about every day. His son Mike was playing football 6 years ago. A hit to the chest causing his heart to stop beating. Several years later, another one of his sons, Timothy, died while swimming with friends.
Get that AED hooked up to him.
Elsesser feels if an automatic external defibrillator was nearby, it would have made a difference.
They're both at home in heaven, and we're trying to turn their tragedies into triumphs so no family has to go through what we've gone through. We want that AED to be 90 seconds away, because if you're 90 seconds away, you're 90 seconds back, you're 3 minutes in, you're starting to get into real trouble.
Bypass the patient's bare chest.
Now AEDs could be coming to school districts across Massachusetts. Last night, state lawmakers passed legislation requiring all schools in the state to have at least one AED on campus. Legislation the Elsesser family has been pushing for years, along with the American Heart Association.
A student athlete suffers sudden cardiac arrest once in every 3 days. So it's much higher than people imagine it to be.
Every school district wants to provide safety, the appropriate safety for their students. So it's just having the legislature in the school districts come to a middle ground and move forward.
One concern over the AEDs is cost. But the bill allows for school districts to pursue funding from the state or a non-state source in order to purchase the life-saving device.
My wife went back to work, I went back to work.
The Elsesser family feels confident the bill will be signed after a recent meeting with Governor Charlie Baker.
He said he would sign it, looked him square in the eye, and he said he would sign it if it gets to his desk. So now that it's through both legislature branches, we feel confident that Governor Baker will indeed sign it and every school will have an AED.
Andy Madison, Worcester News Tonight.
More than 850 people have signed an online petition aimed at keeping a developer from knocking down a historic church in Worcester's downtown. A demolition delay for the former Notre des Canadiens church ends in April, and the petition is asking the developer to consider turning the old church into something else. Rosalind Flaherty reports.
We'd like thousands of them. I think that that will make an impact.
Hundreds are speaking up to save the former Notre Dame des Canadiens church in downtown Worcester.
We call ourselves Notre Dame Reimagined.
Preservation Worcester started an online petition last week calling on the owner of the building and the city council to repurpose the structure instead of tearing it down.
Well, I'd love to see something really exciting there. We've talked about maybe a brewery.
The church was built in 1929. It closed years ago and sold to City Square 2 Development Company. A one-year demolition delay expires in April, and Preservation Worcester's Dept says they want to communicate with the owners to figure out how to save it. But so far, they have not heard anything back.
Now we've tried a new approach, which is our petition.
City Square 2 says in a statement, the team explored several renovation and reuse options for the property, and none proves economically viable due to the condition of the building. Since the one-year delay was imposed, which City Square 2 accepted, no investors have come forward. City Councilor Mo Bergman says he hopes the developer thinks about all the possibilities before tearing the building down.
I understand there are financial realities and legal impossibilities, but I do think the developer has a moral obligation, if not a legal one, to work with Preservation Worcester and other community advocates.
Mayor Joe Petty says in a statement, the Notre Dame Church is an architectural gem in our city. It is my understanding that upwards of $700,000 has been spent marketing this building without interest from potential developers. However, I will speak with the city manager again about the adaptive reuse of the building. People who attended the church say they hope there's something to be done to help save it.
This is historic, it's pretty to look at, and we should save it.
I think it is a staple here in downtown Worcester.
That was our Rosalind Flaherty reporting. A 19-year-old man from Barre is the 9th grand prize winner in the Massachusetts State Lottery's $1,000 a week for life game. Zachary Pearson says he received some lottery tickets for Christmas and used the winnings from those to purchase additional tickets, including the grand prize ticket. Pearson elected to receive his prize in payments of $1,000 every week for the rest of his life. He says he plans on using his winnings to fund his college tuition and to buy a car.